Hey everyone, this is Keala from Organized and Creative, here with part 2 of our holiday decor videos. Today's video is on the Christmas centerpieces that we did. We didn't go as extensive in terms of the amount that we did, but we did do way more options, as you'll see in this video. Brief disclaimer, I'm from Hawaii. I was born and raised there. So there is no snow whatsoever unless you go into the mountains. That usually presents a problem with centerpieces for Christmas because most of them kind of feature around snow. So I wanted to do something a little different with this setup in particular. And so without further ado, let's just get right into it. So first things first, we're going to take our salad bowl from the Dollar Tree, use that as the main container, and take the container that we used in our previous one, and instead of using the lid, we're going to use the actual container to hold the tea light. Since I'm not using snow in this, I need something to anchor the winter feel, so we're using the plastic and the glass to mimic ice, and we're carrying that theme through into the marbles. The green gives a little more color for the Christmas feel, but it still maintains that crystal that you would get from the ice. All right, next we're adding in this green pip. It is going to act as a wreath substitute. Ties in with Christmas trees and Christmas wreaths and all of that stuff. And instead of doing a symmetrical design, which I would probably normally do, I decided to do more of a cycling design so that it kind of runs into each other. It gives a little bit of a different dynamic to the piece. Next up is some of these white marble stems. They are going to add in that white that we are missing from not having any type of snow or frost on this. So we're going to just add in this pine cone, and we're going to frame around the pine cone with the stems and hopefully treat these kind of like street lights would be, just kind of sticking out like antennas. So now once we've gotten this side set as best as possible, we're just going to take some green floral, this is just a random bush, and some of this red berry ribbon. We're going to cut them up into smaller pieces, tie the red berry ribbon around using the wire that was with it, and just add a frame for another pine cone to sit in. So this is going to contrast our other side, which is pretty sparse, and it's going to add a little more color, a little more pop, something of a little more interest to look at while still keeping the piece pretty minimal. We really didn't want too much to clash with the crystal or the ice feel that the containment was giving, but we still wanted to give some of that extra kind of natural flair. Now all that's left is to add in 2 more pine cones to finish off the piece, and we are done. Now you could definitely add in other aspects if you would like to, you know, fill out the piece. We didn't want to, I didn't want to, this was good enough for us. All that's left is to add in the tea light of your choice. Now we added in the tea light that we used in our previous video just so you can see that you can reuse materials. And because we have other materials, we just decided to do a few other mock-ups on possible centerpiece options. Now these centerpieces could work as is if you'd like, but I wanted more of a Christmas feel and to use that tree from the last video. So we're adding in a jar for the tree to stay in theme with the crystal ice effect. And to add some greenery, I'm going to take a washcloth. So you could use any washcloth you like. I really like the lighter green, kind of mossy color feel to it, but it's to your preference. And because I can't cut this in any way, I'm trying to fold it as best as possible to hide the trim as best as possible. I would definitely recommend cutting the trim if you can, if you're not intending on reusing the washcloth. But because I had to kind of figure out a way to work this. So I used the stems on this tree light to kind of work the cloth to try to hide the trim as best as possible. It took way longer than I really wanted it to, but I got it kind of enough to be where I'd like it. Once we got that set up, I just decided to add in some pine cones to add in another natural element. This will be easier to take out than doing river rocks, although I definitely considered that. I didn't want to do the river rocks because I was afraid it was going to damage the glass, but if you're doing more of a permanent setup, you could definitely do that. Once that's done, it looks pretty good enough for us, and we're just going to replace our smaller centerpiece and show what it was like with the bigger centerpiece. Now, this was more of a Christmas option, but still wasn't enough, so we're going to do a different setup. So we're going to take a shallow jar. You can see that there's a hole in this one. I definitely broke it when I was doing some other mock-ups. So to address that problem, I am going to take the extra washcloth that I have. Now this green definitely works better for Christmas, and that's why I decided to use this instead of the mossy green one in the main part of the centerpiece. But I'm going to put this in. It's going to do two things. It's going to help to distribute the impact that can happen from the harder elements like the marbles or the river rocks. It's also going to add in that green that I need to help fill out this particular centerpiece. And we're just going to rest the main jar right into it and then fill it out from there. All right, so now we're just going to add in some of these green marbles. That's going to maintain the kind of color and crystal effect that we got in our previous centerpiece. I'm again using the towel to my advantage as best as possible to not break the glass. But this is going to add some nice pop and filler for the piece. Next up is to add in kind of the white and the red from the berries. And I made this little thing by wrapping it all around a pine cone just to kind of maintain that focal point. It took a bit to get this in, so once we do, we're just going to fill out the rest of the piece. Next up, we're going to add in some of the green pips, and this time I'm going to wrap it around so that it kind of gives that Roman wreath seal that you would see. I'm just helping to add in a swooping dynamic and trying to flip it in. It is also going to hide some of the cording from the light switch. And then we're just going to add in some extra elements of these white berry stems, and that is definitely going to finish off this major piece. So here it is, the finished piece, all assembled all together. We just added in some of this red berry ribbon around the smaller piece so it had a little more extra earthy elements and gave a little more color pop to the overall centerpiece. But really happy with how this came out, especially not using any type of snow or other effects. And it definitely used a lot of the pieces that we already had on hand. So definitely a fun project and very resourceful. And that was our centerpiece videos. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and that it's given you some inspiration and ideas for centerpieces that you might want to do, or just to change or spice up decor options that you have already been doing. We're covering creative videos every Mondays and organizing videos every Thursdays. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell so you can stay up to date on future videos. And definitely comment in the section below if there are decor options that you have done, or if there are any type of creative challenges that you'd like to see us tackle in future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next videos on Organized and Creative.